Well, good evening, folks. So welcome to the 87th annual meeting of the Central Electric Co-op. I'm Bob Smith. I'm the president of the board for Central and a representative from Butler County. So I hope you all were able to attend our customer appreciation event that we had over at the our company headquarters. It was a good opportunity to meet with some of our co-op employees and with our directors, and hopefully you can spend some time with your fellow members. I was quite pleased with the event, particularly that demonstration of how the electric system works. Just don't eat the hot dogs that he fried on the 7,000 volts. So, you'll all want to stay after the meeting this evening, where some of you are going to be able to win a door prize, and everyone who is attending will get a bill credit for that. To win a door prize, you must be a member and you must be present to win. So we're not going to let you go that quick. One request, please switch your cell phones to silent. Medical assistance is available. The Superior Ambulance Service is here on site, and if it's required. Tonight's meeting is being recorded and will be available on the website after the meeting. It is not live for now. So now let's begin the 87th meeting here. Would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you'll remain standing, our Stacy Bechtel, who's in our IT group, will sing the national anthem for us. Your choice.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Stacy. Next, Chester Conte, our Chief Financial Officer, will give the invocation.
Gentlemen, if you could please remove your hats. If we could bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. We humbly place ourselves before you. You are filled with the beauty and light that is shed upon us each and every day. Help us engage in meaningful discussion Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of our community. Help us to value and appreciate our time together this evening. We ask this through your Son and our Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen.
And now Matt Beauchamp, who's our CEO and General Manager, will begin our introductions.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Great. I probably have said this a number of times when I step up here to first take the mic at the annual meeting, but isn't it great that we are still part of our organization that starts with the pledge and a prayer? Anyway, I want to recognize that. But good evening again. I'm Matt Beauchamp, the CEO and General Manager for Central Electric Cooperative. I'd like to welcome you all to the 87th annual member meeting. I'd also like to thank all of you for taking time to participate in the business of your cooperative. Your participation is a big part of the cooperative difference, and my remarks later will point that out. Thank you to Central Electric's own Stacy Bechtel for her moving rendition of the national anthem. Can we all join me? Thank you, Stacy. I'd also like to take the opportunity to introduce your member-elected board of directors. I say this every year. This group doesn't need any introduction to you, probably. They live and work in your communities, and they've served on this board for a varied number of years. I'm going off the script now, so I'm sure Nikki's losing her mind. But we're fortunate to have a board with such a wide variety of experience in their personal and professional lives as they offer unique perspective to the governance of our cooperative. Please join me in recognizing them and thanking them for their service. You've already met our board president, Robert Smith from Butler County. Make sure I'm staying up with where the script is. Althea Smith, our board secretary and treasurer from Venango County. Althea also serves as our representative to the PREA, our Pennsylvania Rural Electric Association. Richard Weaver from Clarion County, representative and representative of Allegheny Electric Cooperative Board for us. Nancy Lendak, Armstrong County representative. Kenneth Durrett, our Butler County representative. Kenneth Etzel, our Venango County representative, and Jody Weaver, our Clarion County representative. Also seated with us here up on stage tonight is our the legal counsel for Central Electric, Michael Sloat from Lynn, King, and Schreffler, PC. The next couple of announcements I have, it saddens me to have to announce our recently former director from Forest County, John Campbell's passing. I hope you noticed our display as you walked in. He passed away earlier this summer. He's greatly missed by all of us here at Central Electric, and his accomplishments at Central as a director will be remembered. Our sympathies are with his family, friends, and all those remembering him. I'd also like to mention another recognition, another sad one, is our former board member, Marge Terwilliger. Marge served on the board of directors and remained an active member, attending annual meetings and more until her recent passing. She's survived by her daughter, our own Nancy Lendak, introduced earlier as the Armstrong County Director. Marge is greatly missed, and her contributions to the cooperative are remembered as well. Before I move on to the next group of introductions, could you all join me in a moment of silence for those two? Thank you. I'm going to raise this up a little bit on the phone. Oh my goodness, I'm going to make a lot of noise. There we go. Next, I'd like to introduce our 2024-25 Member Aware Advisory Committee for their service. If you're here with us this evening from our MAC committee, if you could stand up when I say your name. Brian Opitz, representing Butler County. Susan Daniels, representing Butler County. Timothy Edmonds, representing Butler County. Robert Best, representing Clarion County. Dennis and Deb Meals, representing Clarion County. Deborah Earnhardt, representing Venango County. Samuel and Kimberly Wagner, representing Forest County. I should have mentioned what our Member Aware Advisory Committee is. I skipped over a section of my script. Sorry about that. This group serves a 2-year term, where Central Electric staff provide information about the cooperative and the electric utility industry, and the members bring items for discussion. A little off script again. This is one of my favorite programs. It gives me the opportunity to interact with individual members on a regular basis. We meet quarterly over a 2-year period, and every single MAC member that's ever been on our MAC afterwards has come and asked if they could stay on the MAC for the next cycle. So it's a wonderful program. If you haven't participated in it, please give us a call and see if you're eligible for any given cycle. Also joining us and helping us today from our Pennsylvania Rural Electric Association is Morgan Webb, right up here up front. I'm going to screw up the title of this. Pennsylvania, she is representing PREA and America's Electric Cooperatives PAC. It's a recent name change from our previous Political Action Committee. The PAC is a bipartisan political action committee that financially assists state and federal legislators who support cooperative initiatives and rural communities like ours. If you're already a member of the PAC, I thank you for joining our efforts and recognizing the importance of our voice in Harrisburg and Washington, D.C. If you would like more information about the PAC or how to become a member, please see Morgan or call our office after the fact. Whether you join the PAC or not, let me ask you to ensure rural Pennsylvania has a voice by exercising your right to vote. At this time, I'd like to welcome Bob back to the podium, but before I do, I want to point out that is the last time we're going to be talking about politics this evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Matt. This year, Central Electric awarded 10 Good Neighbor Scholarships to students who demonstrated an exceptional level of non-paid service to their school, community, and or church. Our 2024 Good Neighbor Scholarship winners are, and again, if any are here, please stand. Grace Bartlett from AC Valley High School, Nevada Boyer from Red Bank Valley High School, Ashlyn Collins, Liberty University, Julia Daum, North Clarion High School, Audrey Fraser, Cranberry Area High School, Montana Geibel, St. Joseph High School, Jennifer Morrison, Mars Area High School, Aliana Olson, Cranberry Area High School, and Arden Ranabani from Butler Senior High School. We're proud of all these young ambassadors, and we'd like to see more members get involved with the cooperative. So I'd ask you to help encourage any of the young people that you know that to please get involved with Central Electric. It is their future. They are our future. So please encourage their participation. So, and now it's time to call this meeting to order. Hopefully I didn't scare anyone with that one. Now the agenda or order of business of the annual meeting of the members is in accordance with Article 3, Section 6 of the bylaws. Article 3, Section 4 of the bylaws of the cooperative specify that 150 members constitute a quorum, except when there is no contested director election, in which case the quorum to conduct business requires 8 members. The board of directors and members in attendance satisfy the quorum requirement, and we will proceed with the meeting. Upon registration, you received a copy of last year's minutes. In order to expedite our business meeting, can I hear a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of our 2023 annual meeting of the members and approve of the same? And is there a second to that motion? Nikki will record your name.
Claire Martin.
Oh, okay. Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carried. Our balance sheets and operating statement are included as part of the annual report that appears in August issues of the Power Lines. A copy was mailed to every member and is accessible on the cooperative's website. In view of this, I entertain a motion to approve the financial statements. May I have a motion to approve the financial statements and waive the reading thereof? And can we have a second to that motion? In the gray. Okay. And I missed the second. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, now we'll hear from Matt Boshaw again.
Thank you, Bob. Again, thank you all for joining us for the 87th annual meeting of the membership. It's great to have you participate in one of the events that truly sets us apart as a cooperative from an investor-owned utility. So I mentioned earlier, we're not going to be talking about politics tonight, but in case you haven't heard, there's going to be a big election this November. With that in mind, as I mentioned before, we won't be discussing politics in any way from this point forward. Instead, we're going to be discussing something that has proven to be truly unifying in the communities that we serve, and that's your Central Electric Cooperative. We may never agree on red or blue, but we can all agree that access to safe, reliable, affordable power is essential to our communities. I've often discussed and written about the cooperative difference, and this evening I'd like to approach that a little differently and provide you with a State of the Union update, but also highlighting the advantages and value of being a cooperative member. As a framework for that, I'm going to reference the 7 cooperative principles that all cooperatives use as part of their existence. The first of those is open and voluntary membership. And just like it sounds, anyone and everyone that lives within our service territory has access to our electric service and can be a member of Central Electric without any discrimination. Democratic member control. Every member is the second principle, and every member has an equal voice. You can have one account or 1,000 accounts with us, and you have no more voice than any other member. So you have that one vote to elect your member-elected board of directors. The third is members' economic participation. This is particularly important. Your electric usage provides you with equity in the cooperative's electric system. And that is retained as patronage capital and comes back to you as we retire capital credits. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more, so I won't get into any more detail about that right now. Perhaps if not the most important, one of the most important of these principles is autonomy and independence. Central is owned and governed by its membership. We don't report or are regulated by any federal agencies or any state agencies. So when you elect your member-elected board of directors, they are making decisions for the cooperative locally. This particular principle, the independence it provides for Central Electric, is an immeasurable value. The next principle, education, training, and information. Well, beyond electric service, we offer a number of value-added services designed to educate and inform our communities on electrical safety, the electrical utility business, and the cooperative operation itself. The sixth of these principles is cooperation among cooperatives. And while I mentioned we are an autonomous organization, we recognize the value of working closely with those that are formed in the same way we are and have the same values that we do. And the last of these principles is concern for community, because we know that the service that we provide is an essential service, and that our involvement in the community is necessary in order for our area to continue to thrive. So those are the 7 cooperative principles. And I am distracted by the fact that every time I turn my head, my voice hit. So those are the 7 cooperative principles. And if I were running for office, as I mentioned, we're not going to be talking about politics tonight, I would stop right there and not give you any more detail about the value of being a cooperative member, or the things that we do, how they've been tangible examples of that value in 2023 and thus far in 2024. But we're a cooperative and we do things a little differently than politicians. So let's start with this meeting tonight. It's an excellent example of the value of membership. Every year, Central holds the annual meeting of the members in conjunction with the board election process. And during this meeting, you receive the update of how your cooperative is doing and what its health is. I should also mention the member appreciation event that Bob already referenced. A couple of months ago, back in June, we opened up our office doors so all of our members could come and take a look at our facilities and the equipment that you all provide to us to be able to serve you. We took the opportunity to share important information, some good fellowship, and I think Nancy would agree, some good ice cream. A special thanks to all of you that participated in that event, and I certainly hope we'll see you all next year. This level of transparency, this meeting, that meeting, it's not available to those that are simply customers of an investor-owned utility. You have access to your cooperative and your cooperative management and your board of directors that others simply don't have. It's the best example of the adherence to those democratic member control and education, training, and information principles that I can think of. We're certainly not immune to those factors that impact those investor-owned utilities, market conditions, and issues facing the electric utility. Oh man, that's not good. But how we've addressed those concerns provides another opportunity to point out the value of membership. Over the past 14 years, and yes, I have been here for 14 years now. This is my 15th annual meeting. We've worked very hard to increase our member equity, decrease the rotation of patronage capital, the cycle of time for that, and maintain competitive rates with the investor-owned utilities that surround us. And we've been really successful in those areas. Excuse me. And in doing so, these efforts have been very effective and resulted in us being prepared to mitigate the impacts of upward rate pressures that are present in the marketplace today. And I'm going to get a little bit more detailed about that. In 2022 and 2023, there was significant market pressures in both the generation and transmission markets. And we saw significant increased pressure to increase our rates. And these circumstances made the cooperative value evident in multiple ways. And I know our generation and transmission cooperative folks would be really happy with what I'm about to tell you all. The first of those ways was because of the manner in which our generation and transmission cooperative, and that's Allegheny Electric Cooperative, manages our power resources, we were able to delay the implementation of increase until 2023. I don't know if you recall the year of 2022, but your neighbors that were investor-owned utilities received multiple double-digit rate increases during the year 2022, and Central saw none. So we were able to delay that increase. Secondly, because of our generation cooperative model, they own generation resources, and they also have access to long-term contracts that also limit our exposure to the marketplace. That allowed us to further decrease the magnitude of that rate increase that was potentially coming. And then lastly, our G&T was able to utilize its ongoing rate stabilization program to further mitigate the impact of those potential rate increases. Even with all those advantages, Central was required to implement its first rate increase in 3 years in January of 2023. I know, go ahead and boo. That's the part where you boo. We had a rate increase. It was 3 years old. It was 3 years in the coming, but while we never want to see rate increases, it did certainly allow us to engage another significant value to your membership. I mentioned earlier the rotation of patronage capital, and that's where I'm going to come back here now. It's one of the most significant and direct advantages that our members enjoy. When the financial health of the organization allows for it, the board elects to return patronage capital to the membership in the form of a capital credit retirement. In April of 2023, the board elected to retire over $3.1 million in capital credits to our members. It effectively offset the entire rate increase that we had in January to most of our members. So anticipating the question of why have a rate increase and then retire a bunch of capital credits after that, well, the reason is very simply this. the need for a rate increase, at the end of the year, we have a margin, and that margin is required to be allocated into your membership accounts. That's that patronage capital I'm talking about. We can't use that money to pay our future bills that we are anticipating coming. So we have to set our rate to make sure we're covering those expenses. So effectively, the rate increase is a look forward at the expenses we'll have to pay, and our rate must cover those expenses. Retiring capital credits allows us to mitigate the impact of rate increase by utilizing some of the increased equity that I talked about that we've been building over the last few years. I can't emphasize enough, the rotation of patronage capital is a process specifically unique to the cooperative business model. Putting it simply, increase our equity has allowed us to plan for a rainy day, and the market rate pressures make it rain. Our equity at the end of 2023 had rebounded beyond that of 2022, all the way back up to 39.77%. And our cycle of patronage capital rotation had decreased to 16 years. When I arrived here, that number was 28 years that we held your money before we gave it back. I can't think of a better illustration of the principles of member economic participation, autonomy and independence, and cooperation among cooperatives than these efforts that I've just mentioned. I know I talked a little bit about the rate increase in 2023, and I know one piece of information you're always interested to hear is that we're not having one in 2024. We haven't had one to start the year, and we won't be having a rate increase through the rest of this year. Looking ahead, we don't have all the information we need yet about 2025 to let you know what the potential rate increases would be, but we'll continue to monitor the conditions, some of which are out of our control, that are going to give us rate pressures. To give you an idea of what those conditions are and what we monitor, what those things that are out of our control might be, just this last week, we received information about the PJM Marketplace Capacity Market Auction. The numbers for that came back tenfold higher than the previous year. I'm going to say that again, 10 times higher than the previous year. The good news is that's one piece of the rate making bucket. So we don't know exactly how that's going to affect us just yet. But what I can tell you is, based on all the other things I just told you about our G&T and how we do business, that any potential rate pressure that provides to the cooperatives is going to be significantly less than any rate pressure that the investor-owned utilities are going to see. Just as an aside, I should tell you a little bit about why that capacity market increase happened. I mean, again, 10 times is not insignificant. A big part of the reason for that is regulations that exist right now that are causing the closure of scheduled generation resources and are trying to be replaced by renewable resources that simply do not have the same capacity factor available. And so therefore, as complicated as these things can be, this one gets down to it's as simple as supply and demand. There is simply less capacity available because of the way we're closing some of these plants. I'll get off my soapbox about that and jump back to what we're talking about, our cooperative. So our commitment to the principles of concern for community and education, training, and information are visible every day here at Central through the efforts that to provide safe, reliable, and affordable electricity to our membership, and through those value-added services that I mentioned. Just to give you some statistics, some of which were included in your financial or in the annual report. We continued our system maintenance programs, inspecting over 53, replacing 694 of those. We rebuilt almost 15 miles of three-phase line. And since trees still cause almost 50% of our outages, we've redoubled our efforts and continued that program, carrying nearly 370 line miles in 2023. Our value-added services provide education and information first responders program to spread this electrical safety message. This next statistic is always staggering. We have various energy assistance programs that are available to assist our members, and over 560 families in our membership community received over $220,000 in funds this last year to help with their energy costs. We've also maintained the employee-directed giving program. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, it's a program that allows individual employees to direct an amount that's been determined to various not-for-profit organizations throughout our entire service territory. So a whole lot of our community organizations are receiving additional dollars from us for their programs. Our board has also continued their capital contribution program in 2023, And you heard our list of scholarship winners. Our Good Neighbors Youth Scholarships continued this year, providing 10 deserving students with scholarships. It's really important that I know at this point that, and I do this every year, that our value-added programs certainly have direct impact throughout our communities, but they come at no cost to you, our membership. I mention this to you every year, but we've been allowed to keep the unclaimed property dollars, or the escheats money, thanks to the efforts of our statewide association. And we're able to use that money to fund these programs, so it doesn't cost our membership anything. And finally, I have always believed that the greatest advantage of the cooperative business model is our people. And that begins, as did our cooperative, with you all, our membership. I remind our employees very regularly that we're not just here to serve the membership, we're here because of the membership. 87 years ago, those that would become the first members, formed the cooperative. Without their commitment to the community and the monumental effort it took to create this cooperative, we simply wouldn't exist. And you may not have electric service available to you. This people advantage continues with the people seated up on stage with me here tonight, your member-elected board of directors, your chosen representatives that guide the cooperative to make sure that the best advantage for our members is met. And lastly, your employee group. And as important as the skills that we all bring to the table are, those skills pale in comparison to the commitment to serving our membership. As I mentioned, the membership is unique to our business model and is at the center of the cooperative advantage. As always, I want to close with my sincere thanks to our employees, our board, and you, our membership, for your continued support to our efforts on your behalf. And that brings my remarks to a conclusion. Thank you all very much. I see Nikki turning on the microphone. We asked members to submit any questions they might have in advance. Tonight we received only a single question in advance of the, that's not it, that's the invocation. I'm going to set that there. We received one question from Mr. Walter Schattenberg, and his question was, why are there no term limits for directors? Well, I will answer that question. We do have term limits. They're called elections. We have a very open election process that gives excellent access to all of our members that choose to potentially run for those seats. We have had incumbent directors run and lose. We've had incumbent directors run and win. We've had appointed directors. We have a wide variety of time on our board, from long-serving board members to short-serving board members. So, Mr. Schattenberg, if you're here tonight, that's the answer to the question. The board certainly always has the opportunity to make a more formal change to the idea of term limits for directors, but at this point, that's the reason we don't have them. With that, I believe I'm asking for questions from the floor. For those members who chose not to submit any questions in advance, a microphone that Nikki just turned on has been placed in front of the stage, so all may hear your question, and each person will have 2 minutes to ask any questions, and a response of equal time will be given. Are there anyone that would like to come up and ask a question?
My question is in response to a concern that we had as members just recently. And my question is, could the communication from Central Electric be better to its members? Can I explain my situation?
Certainly.
Okay. On May 28th, we captured video of an electric company contracted by Central Electric to trim trees along the power line at the back end of our property.
It doesn't sound like it is. Yeah, slide it up. One more click. There you go.
Can you hear me better now? Okay. We captured a video of an electric company contracted by Central Electric to trim trees around the power lines at the back edge of our property. The vehicle left big ruts in our yard because it was wet. Had someone contacted us before coming on our property, we would have warned them of this issue. It had just rained a lot for 2 weeks and that part of our yard gets wet. Sunday, June 23rd, we got a certified letter out of our mailbox from Central Electric. Post office didn't ask for our signature. We thought we were being notified of the damage and it would be corrected, but it was a threatening letter saying we had to pay $650 to replace our meter pole by July 26th or our electric would be disconnected. And we took it as a threat. We always pay our bills and never received a letter like that. Also in bold was the following sentence: the transferring of the service from the old pole to the new pole is the responsibility of the member. There was no cost for this part of the job noted in the letter. After doing our own research on Sunday, we understood we were going to have to replace the pole because there's no one to question. When you are in a cooperative doesn't have to follow the rules of the Public Utilities Commission. Monday, June 24th at 3 o'clock, my husband and I called the lady whose name was on the letter. He explained what he did for work and said he reaches out by phone or has a few conversations before putting things in writing very sternly. She said that you had to do this or no one would pay attention to it. He said we understood we had to replace the pole, but we thought that Central Electric's communication needed to be better. I asked when we were notified of pole inspections and the possibility of having to replace a pole, because we had no idea. We've never heard of this in our lives, neither had any of our family, and the cost so we could budget for the expense if necessary. She said calls were sent out a while ago. I explained I never had a missed call voicemail from Central Electric. After telling my husband twice she was sorry he felt this way, she passed us to her boss. 3:10 to 3:45, we talked to her boss. I asked him about the calls that were made. He gave me an additional number that I didn't have in my phone contacts for Central Electric. He explained 5,000 to 6,000 poles a year are inspected. There's a rotating schedule because we had lived there 9 years now and we hadn't heard anything about pole inspections. And he said it's done every 7 to 8 years. So that kind of made sense to us. He shared there was a 3% rejection rate, which would be about 180 customers with my quick math in my mind that also got that notification. Again, he told us, the boss said that the communication, we explained that the communication to customers needed to be improved. We weren't questioning that we had to replace the pole, but communication needed to be better. We explained we were using our own electrician to replace the pole. The letter told us we could do so. June 25th or 26th, Central Electric linemen were at our place of work to replace 3 poles. They asked our maintenance director if he knew my husband, said his name and his role there, and if he worked there. Our director said yes. Why? They replied, he was the talk of our office this morning, unhappy about his pole replacement. Our director and I had already talked about the letter because they received the letter and our concerns shouldn't have been discussed in the Central Electric. Here we go again, poor communication. June 28th, now the original letter said we had till July 26th to get the pole replaced or our electric would be shut off on July 27th. June 28th, we received this letter and we called. We received an invoice from Central Electric for $650 for replacing the pole, which they had not done. We called the boss again that we spoke to before. I won't say their names. Again at 2:27 p.m. My husband said once again we were receiving poor communication. All he could say was just disregard the invoice. July 25th, the original lady on the original letter called me in the middle of the day. I answered on second call. And she said she was just checking on the status of our pole if she, I questioned if she could make this call to see if I replaced the pole or not, instead of somebody coming to seeing if we replaced the pole, could someone have just communicated better in that whole process? And I don't need an answer tonight. I just want to give food for thought. It didn't come across very well. And I read everything that in the Central Electric Cooperative, we are members. And I don't feel like I was treated like a member to anything. I think members should be treated with respect. They assume that we're somebody that's not going to take care of business. We've paid all of our bills for the last 9 years on time. It was a very disturbing Sunday in my house. We felt very threatened and we didn't know why. So, you know, maybe some other people would feel that way. I had no idea we'd ever have to replace our own pole. It was just a shock. And we got over that, but communication needs to be worked on. So I don't need any answers tonight. I don't need anything. I just want people to hear that that was our concern and how we felt.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you voicing those concerns. And there was a couple of pieces to that to unpack. Certainly the initial thing where the tree trimmers were on your property created the ruts.
He did come meet with us
That's a
after
complete-
we complained to the boss about it, and we were
Yeah.
going to let it go, but not when we got the threatening
Of
letter.
course,
It changed things.
Certainly, those are completely separate issues. Certainly, but I understand how they compound one another.
Yeah.
In what took place.
And he explained that somebody should have called us from his office or here. I don't know who, but we never got a call.
With regard to the damage to your property? You mean?
No, with him even coming on our property to begin with,
Right.
which
exactly.
we understand.
Exactly. So I certainly want to have some additional conversation with you offline about this
Yeah.
process. If you
I have all the letters with me. I'll be
again,
glad to stay around if you'd like to.
I understand the letters and what goes along. I'd
And-
certainly like to have some conversation with you about that.
And-
First of all, let me apologize for the process and how it played out for you. That's
Please understand, we don't like complaining. We're not those type of people. We get to hear complaints in our work. But I just felt like this really needs work on.
Of course, and appreciate the feedback. We have to when we drop the ball in various situations, we got to make sure we know about it so we can do something to address it. So I appreciate
All
you
right.
taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Dan Card from Rockland. I was wondering, in your July newsletter, you alluded to some information about the solar farms and what they're going to do to the co-op as far as purchasing power from them and also from homeowners of that sort. And I was wondering, how is that going to affect us as customers when this stuff is either coming on or not coming on or whatever? I'm pretty sure you know all about that, but I'd like you to explain it a little more to me.
I sure would try. There's two different pieces that you're talking about. One, if you are a individual member that has, say, rooftop solar that you've put on your home.
That's one kind of power.
That's one kind of that's
solar farms or something else.
Very, very different. Yes, I'm glad. Thank you for pointing that out. Those are two very different things. The first one, the rooftop solar, that's something that we refer to as net metering, and that's primarily what that article was about. Because we've made some more fairly compensate those that are putting power back onto our system so that the rest of our members are not subsidizing those installations. So these have made it so they won't have any real impact on the rest of our members that don't have a solar facility, yet they are still getting compensated through our generation and transmission supplier for those kilowatt hours they're putting onto our system. So that's the first thing. The larger solar farms, that's a much different situation. Those have very little impact on our members as a whole. Any cost to upgrade the system is paid for by the developer. The power that comes back into the system is not net metered, and so therefore it has no potential to impact us at all. That power has to be purchased by a generation supplier. It's not even purchased by us. So it will have little to no impact on Central. As a matter of fact, the possibility exists that we might get a user load on it that might generate some revenue for us. So in the big picture, the solar farms for electric distribution companies like Central don't have a great deal of impact on them. So it wouldn't have impact on our members. On a bigger scale, as I mentioned in my remarks, the use of those renewable resources like solar farms to try to replace dispatchable generation, that can have a real impact on the total cost of power. And that would have obviously direct impact on our membership. But as far as the farm itself and what impact it has none to speak of.
Will it be more expensive than the so-called fossil fuel type of thing?
Well, we won't be purchasing any of that output from those. It would only get passed on to the grid. So any purchase of that, yes, they definitely, the cost of power generated by solar facilities, unless it's subsidized significantly, is in fact more expensive than most of the other power that's in the market right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Going once, twice, sold. All right. If there are no further questions, then Central Electric's legal counsel will now offer his report. Mike.
An affidavit by the cooperative secretary affirms that notice of the time and place of this annual meeting was mailed to each cooperative member as such member's address appears in the cooperative records. The affidavit, as well as a copy of this notice, are to be attached to the minutes of this meeting. In accordance with Pennsylvania's Electric Cooperative Law of 1990, electric cooperatives are managed by a board of directors. As required by its bylaws, Central Electric's board consists of 8 directors. Each director's seat is derived from districts created from the county served by the cooperative. Each director's seat is a term of 4 years. In each year, 2 director seats are up for election. The 2 seats up for election this year are from Butler County and Clarion County. Earlier this year, the cooperative's monthly newsletter called Power Lines invited cooperative members of Butler and Clarion County to file a petition to run for these respective seats. The eligibility requirements for serving as a director of the cooperative are provided in the cooperative bylaws and in the member handbook. The cooperative bylaws and the member handbook are available at the cooperative's website at www.central.coop. The board appoints members to a nominating committee to ensure that the petitioning members are eligible. The nominating committee reviews the petitions to verify whether each petitioner is qualified in accordance with the cooperative bylaws. Those that qualify are nominated and their names are placed in the ballot. We thank the following members who served on the nominating committee: Harvey Luce from Armstrong County, Joe Gibson from Butler County, Angela Bernardo from Butler County, James Reed, Clarion County, Randy Theron, Clarion County, Dennis Lamb of Forest County, Carl Gadsby of Venango County, and Ron Pernick of Venango County. The cooperative bylaws provide that incumbent directors are automatically nominated as long as they continue to meet the qualifications. There was one qualifying candidate nominated to run for the Butler County seat. It was incumbent director Ken Durrett of Butler. There was one qualifying candidate nominated to run for the Clarion County director seat, incumbent director Rick Weaver of Knox. Article 2, Section 4 of the bylaws provides that when only one candidate is running for a particular seat, the nominating committee report constitutes the ballot for that candidate. Therefore, when the nominating committee report nominates only one qualifying candidate, the nominating committee report shall constitute a ballot and the membership will not be mailed ballots for that seat. The nominating committee member's signature on the nominating report will constitute a vote for the unopposed candidate. Additionally, a cooperative bylaw provides that when there are no contested director elections, a quorum for conducting business at the annual meeting shall only require a minimum of 8 members. Therefore, the election results. Both candidates running this year were unopposed. Therefore, consistent with the bylaws and the report of the nominating committee, Ken Durrett has been reelected for the Butler County director seat, and Rick Weaver was reelected for the Clarion County director seat. Congratulations to you both. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Very happy to see that both of you will be back for another 4 years. Is there any unfinished business before this evening? Is there any new business? Being no unfinished business or no new business, let's continue. Door prizes were announced to encourage attendance at the annual meeting. Winners of the 3 Visa gift cards will be announced following the adjournment of this meeting by Nikki Staley. If there's no further business or discussion, I declare the 87th annual meeting of the Central Electric Cooperative adjourned. Nikki?
The winner of the 250 Visa gift card is Beverly Amsler of Knox. This is the happy part. The winner of the $100 Visa gift card is Denny Mills of Reimersburg. And then the winner of the $50 gift card is James O'Neill of Kasuth. Congratulations to all the winners. The gift cards are available at the registration table, so please stop there prior to leaving. The bill credits that were awarded to everybody in attendance will appear on the September billing cycle. None of these are redeemable for cash. And I want to thank everybody for attending. We hope to see everyone again in 2025.